Hello, I'm Donna Collins, Executive Director of the Ohio Arts Council. Welcome to the OAC's Arts Beacon of Light, Finding Hope in the New Normal, a project inspired by our board member, Tina Houston. Through the Ohio Arts Beacon, we aim to give our artists a place to share, connect, and cope with the challenges presented by COVID-19. We hope to inspire you while giving artists a platform for connection, expression, and encouragement. So let's get started. Today, I'm joined by Ohio artist and teaching artist and friend, Duarte Brown. Welcome, Duarte.
Thank you.
Duarte is a master artist with Transit Arts Youth Arts Program and the Ohio Alliance for Arts Education's Art in the House program for more than 30 years. Oh, Duarte, 30 years. Duarte has dedicated his talents to helping young people in Ohio through countless programs, including the Short Stop Youth Center, the King Arts Complex, the Ohio Alliance for Arts Education's Artists in Schools program, and now is a member of the teaching artist roster at the Ohio Arts Council. Duarte has worked as a high school art instructor at the Arts and College Preparatory Academy here in Columbus. His murals can be seen throughout the city, bringing comfort and inspiration to countless viewers. All of you can learn more about Duarte and his work at duartscollectivegroup.com. Duarte, we're thrilled that you were selected to be a featured teaching artist in the Ohio's Teaching Artist roster, and as you know, a partnership of the Ohio Arts Council, Ohio Alliance for Arts Education, Ohio Dance, Art Possible Ohio, and the Center for Arts Inspired Learning. For anyone not familiar with our online teaching artist roster, you can find it at oac.ohio.gov/resources/teaching artist roster. Duarte, to get us started today, I would love for you to talk about your teaching artist residency through TeachArtsOhio at Whitehall-Yearling High School. You and the team have been in the news, TV, radio, social networking, and it's impressive what you've accomplished for the seniors at Whitehall-Yearling. Tell us the original plan for the start of the year, the plan that started back in the fall with your art teacher partners, Mindy Staley and Sarah Danner Hebdo, and ease into how that residency changed when schools became virtual and learning opportunities changed due to the pandemic.
Well, yeah, this year when we started out, we have kind of, as our collaboration grew, we've come to these things called Affirmation Cards, which were class demos where I would paint a picture or draw a picture, like in a setting in front of a class to teach studio habits. And when we first started doing some of these projects, Miss Hebdo talked about some of the kids and Miss Staley, when their art was done, if it wasn't for a grade, they would sometimes throw things in the trash. And so the reason why this collaboration was so meaningful, we wanted to use the art as a way to connect so they would see something, the value in it, and see it more than something they're doing for a grade. Well, the portrait thing became really popular, and it became you can feel the class become real quiet and attentive. And what happened, the teacher would pick a student, you would draw the face. A week later, you'd show the whole class how it was done. And some people would say, how can I get one? And it became like some kind of a motivator. But then the trade-off would be if they would write a story, they would get the portrait, and then and the affirmation cards grew out of our experience because it wasn't so clear how it was all going to turn out. We had other ideas, many ideas. But this year, our big idea was to take these now affirmation stories that were happening, the portraits, and then do a end of the year school show that would use non-traditional elements like umbrellas or jackets or shoes. And it would be a way to make a tribute to someone that you cared about in your family. And the student would then kind of create the idea of a narrative, or a narrative with some kind of image. And if they couldn't draw, they could write or pick something that represented somebody that they cared about. So that was our biggest goal this year. And we wanted to do a non-traditional show in gratitude of being together for, these years, and to highlight the various students and the various groups of people that are in Whitehall. It's a very diverse school.
Well, Duarte, you never cease to amaze me, and your engagement with students and teachers is really something so positive and joyful to observe. So thank you for that. So beyond your TeachArtsOhio residencies and what you know from your fellow teaching artists, one of the questions we've been thinking about is the COVID-19 crisis and its impact. Will you share with us how the crisis is affecting your engagement with students and teachers, and then maybe share with us some innovative ways you've been connecting with those young people through your work?
The COVID experience has been very, it brings everything to a drastic stop in one way. It also is a chance for us to become very fearful and uncertain and apprehensive, and just a fear-based kind of thing. But it's like, as humans, we have always had to face obstacles or navigation or uncertainty, and we always do. And what I hear from other artists, that were talking about their gigs being shut down, we can't touch each other. And my work is really all about comforting humanity, and touch is the main thing, the human touch. So not being able to touch, you have to find another way to think, how can we touch each other? And what it causes us to do is we're in it together. So what I did learn about, what I do see, is that we've all kind of found ways to touch each other it's just all over the place. But for us, we started thinking in other ways, and noticing that even people that have lost their studio spaces, they've kind of moved in with their family. They've started listening to family stories. They've started cooking together. The things that we kind of put away to do later, we've kind of found ourselves in a position to strategize and look at what we're here for, and ask the question, or think closer to the question, who am I? What am I? What do I do? And what do I do while I have light? And it made us think about the 9/11. When that happened, I was in a school, and the kids were devastated. The world was devastated, the TV media. But this was a different kind of thing. All of a sudden, we didn't know what to do, or we couldn't see where to go. And so it made us all really stop and look and listen, use all of our senses.
Can you talk about, not necessarily an individual, but the young people, the young artists, other teaching artists, other adults even, that you serve as a mentor to? How are you staying connected with them and helping them to remain creative?
Well, since the heart of my vision or dream or desire is to give away what I kind of didn't get as growing up as a child. And it's hard not to get a few tearful emotions in this. When I was a really young boy, the question was, who am I and what am I? And I didn't know quite how I fitted in. And it felt like, it felt like, since my mother wasn't there and my father wasn't there, it was like somehow it seemed like when I drew, it was like God or the presence of a creator or somebody gave me answers as I drew. So making the art process for me was the way I communicated, the way answers seemed to come. When we were at a group meeting at Shortstop with Jackie, and we all started making art, and one of the students there just started talking. He wasn't an artist, but he started saying, one day my mom was feeling struggle, and she went to a particular place, and she was going to jump off a bridge, but I ran, and that's how we stayed alive. He said something so heavy. So I never asked, what did you say? I just realized he was at a position in the making of art to just be transparent and let go of something. I understood that when we make art, for me, it was a chance to finally hear ourselves and speak ourselves without that feeling of we were being measured. And I noticed that when I worked in a position at a youth place where the counselors and psychiatrists were bringing the kids in, when they came in their art room, they said they all of a sudden just would talk. And I felt like the art somehow made us safe to say things, because it seems like we take a risk, we make something, we put ourselves out there, we're vulnerable, we face the rejection or acceptance of our work fitting in, but we somehow navigate around it. And I don't know, sometimes I think that vulnerability that you have as an artist is another chance for another person just to be vulnerable, and it builds their strength. And so the mentoring thing became, it's just whoever I come in contact, whoever comes our way, we feel like we're called to each other. We feel like we're accountable to each other. And it feels like every time I paint a person, you become my family. I know that's a lot to say.
I think that's really beautiful, Duarte. And it's something when you're in person with a group of students and teachers where you can have that very close knit conversation that's safe because you're in the room with probably the door closed, I'm not sure, but other children then learn to be safe also with each other, that they can understand conversations and deep meaning and maybe in a no judgment zone.
Yeah.
So as you're thinking about teaching and learning virtually, I guess I've heard from so many teachers and teaching artists about how they're missing being with their students in person. I've also heard from some parents who have more and more appreciation for the teaching profession every day. How can we handle those conversations as we're making art or creating poetry or just talking with young people or kids, whether it's through a Zoom call or if we're lucky enough to be able to be present with them? How do you engage? Give us some examples of how you engage with your own family, some tips to prompt us how to help the children in our lives through this pandemic.
What I've kind of noticed, so ironically, I have grandkids that just came from Washington as a result of this whole thing, and so they're in our house, and my son and his wife's here, and we haven't talked about it a lot, but this is a small Whitehall house, and regardless of that, what we discovered was instead of me feeling cramped or like I don't have space, just make the space work, and then find ways to invite the kids to help you cook, and help you fix the garden, or even show them what I'm doing, or even like instead of feeling like I got to get this done and I need my space, try to find ways to engage. When I say engage, like we went and got clay. They helped me do the shopping list. They helped me see how to pace the food out, how to measure out, like survive, how to pace the water out, or even take a water bottle and draw tape on it, write whose it belongs to, and make things around you. Take this time to write your story, even your phone, and document what has happened since you've had this COVID experience, and document it with your camera, and write, take cigar boxes and take a box and make it a box of dedicated thoughts maybe from this time, and just, look out the window and see how life's changed. Think about how your family feels about stuff, and keep a little journal. Keep a journal yourself. Read it to each other. Take the time to read again. Everything that we did before we had modern technology, we have a heightened chance to do it. So learn to draw. Even taking videos of each other and playing them together, around the house. Laugh about stuff. Make up songs. Everything that we see everybody else doing, they're doing it because they've found a way to love each other. I think that it just focus on more of the love, and count what's good about this experience versus what's bad about it or what's not good, and try not to be afraid.
I realized as you were talking about don't be afraid, just do some videotapes and laugh and share, that we're seeing a lot of that on television, right? Where we're seeing artists and TV personalities whose makeup's not perfect and the house is a little messy. And so that's been a good lesson for me, that we're not perfect. We don't need to try to be perfect, because we're really just all in this together. So thinking about that, I've spent a lot of time asking you questions about your role as a teaching artist. I'd also love to know what you're doing for yourself. I know you just shared some things you're doing with your family, but what are you doing to be inspired, to be engaged with the world, and to feed your own soul so that your heart remains steady and focused on the future?
I feel like I'm coming to the season of my life where you're trying to find a way to navigate for the rest of your days when I'm not as mobile. So I've been like these talking tree books that I make. um, I call them talking trees. Someone asked the question, and it's Nikki Giovanni, actually a poet, who said, if trees could talk, I wonder what they say. And she talked about, I met an old man, and he began to tell stories about people that were like downtrodden, but they had these beautiful stories. So when I write a story, it almost feels like I've gathered these stories just so in retirement I can read them, that I would never be lonely. And it's like, it's vulnerable because we realize we're aging, we'll age out, or we will come to the place that we're not able to do the things that keep us busy, so we can't see if we're lonely or if we're not sure. So I try to be honest with me and listen to the me of me, the side of me that's really me. And I hear all the other people that have adapted to this, that we've taken on ways to make money or be entrepreneurs, be the first person to do this and that. But the biggest thing was to be still, just to be still, and let the stillness give you the like the inspiration to like move forward, and not move with, like, be able to rest in order to find order, or rest in order to move, because we really operate better from a position of rest. And what I mean rest is just, what all nature does to us, what our churches do to us, what our friends do to us, so I kind of like let go of feeling unaccomplished, realize that if this was the last bit of light, use it. So, and in that, forgive and not take the expectations we have off each other. Like if family members are in jail, or if special need kids are in your life and you want them to change or become something else, or kid, whatever is the thing that you want someone else to change, let it go. Don't spend the rest of your life not enjoying the person that comes with their own sort of circumstances. Learn to really like take people as they are. And what I found, one of the kids from school wrote me, and I noticed the first year I met, a lot of kids don't say words to you. The second year, they'll sit by your desk doing their class, even if they're not doing work in other classes. This kid writes me, and he, a lot of kids are cool, so they don't write you on social media, but he did. And he said something, and I said something back, and basically he said, I said, well, how's it going? He said, well, my mom's in Ghana. And he said, she's been gone since March, because I guess she couldn't get back. I said, well, that's a long walk. And then he said something else. He said, but it's hard, it's lonely. And I said, well, I love you, man. And it's like he's a kid that's graduating, and he turns back and says, I love you too, dude. I just needed to hear you say that. That puts something in, even when I tell you the story, if you could see this tough acting kid who's always disobedient, you find this relationship, and it's given to you. So everything that we cherish or lost, if we could just, value the memory, love who we can while we can. It's creative. Love is a creative source. That's what art is. Art is love. And I'm not trying to have a sermon, but I feel so blessed, just blessed. And so that's how I stay. I just want to run into the storm. I want to run into the fire, or go into the place that just seems dangerous for the right cause, because love is just take me there.
Duarte, you are not supposed to make me cry.
Oh, Jesus.
But I think about some of the young people that you have helped and has served as a mentor for, and I look at them today. I think a couple of them I met years ago at Shortstop, and they are engaged, giving, loving, productive folks in our communities who are doing the same thing for children and the people around them, and especially the teenagers. Thank you for finding a space for them always to be heard, and for supporting them in ways that maybe someone else can't or won't. I appreciate that so much from you. Thank you. I've got one more question I have to ask you. It sort of goes off this deep place where we've been, but I think it's an important moment for you to teach some adults a couple of things about art making. And it'll give me a moment to mop up my tears when you give the answer. there are adults listening to us do art today who are inspired. I just know that's happening. So think for a minute with us about our homes. What can we do with the tools we have in our house as an adult or even a young person to create some art? What's something we could do to make something fantastic and feel good about it?
I had one piece that maybe I met a lady through Sugar Grove. She's a writer, Bonnie, and I'll pull this up. This is a little box with a painting of her that's not quite finished. And when it's completely finished, I can show you. But it's actually a cheese set box that someone's given us like 10 years ago, and it's set in the corner. So it opens up, and it had like a setting for a cheese cutter table and a little knife. But inside it, I took this lady's book, Bonnie, that I drew on front to make it a open talking tree. And she tells the whole story of Sugar Grove. She's like 80 years old. We were going to honor her at the end of the school year. We drawn her picture. The kids have written stories and mimic this whole, we call it a time travel box, and they've talked to their leaders. So it's the idea of taking an old box and putting maybe even pictures on the front of it. You can print them out or dig up your old pictures. Take the time to go and find all those pictures you've saved, if you save some, and just put together a fold out, accordion style with like some papers that fold. And, this is what I mean by a talking tree. This is one that's not finished, and it goes inside of a bigger box. That would be an easy way to document and some of the memories of your life, and just take this time together and then open it up and share it with each other. Or just find pieces of paper and write together, write and scribble, create a language together, like do symbols that mean something to it. Think about something that just tells a story. Just tell your story and preserve your history, and cherish what you have while you have time to do it. And then hold on to that. What I found, kids can't wait to hear you tell your stories, your fails, the times you struggled, or things you were scared of, what you liked, or what excited you, what movie you watched. This is a history time to tell history, and we all have special history inside of us. So I think that grabbing that, and then if you're a creative and you have a natural bent toward anything, you can take foil and make a pot out of it. My wife we made foil pinch pots out of foil because that's something kids have home. I come home and my wife was making Easter baskets out of foil because you could throw them right away and they would get small again. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I would inspire you to do. And if you want to, if you go to our Transit Arts YouTube page, you'll see some instructional videos on how to make foil pots, or how to use things around, how to take old jewelry and make a recycle bin or a box, a creative art box, and put these crafts together. And that can be done at any age, at any time.
Well, that's encouraging. Any age, any time. I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to try to make myself do something creative this weekend and feel good about it. Do art. I'm not a visual artist. I appreciate visual art, but I'm going to try, because who can turn down instruction and opportunity from Duarte Brown, right?
Yes.
I do want to share with you a quick personal story. So I was on the phone with my grandboy, and I was saying to him, so what's the best memory you have of 2020? And he said, remember when I was at your house and the lights went out because of the storm? And I said, yes. And he said, that was the best night ever. We just sat in the family room and we told stories and we laughed.
Wow.
And he said, do you think the electric's going to go off again soon? And I thought, oh my gosh. I said, Chance, we can talk and tell stories and share all those things with the lights on. He said, oh, but I'm usually busy when the lights are on. And so we talked about that for a long time. So as you're saying, Duarte, we really need to think about what's important, understand what each other needs, and really be present in the moment. And boy, was that a big lesson for me from my little grandboy. So now every time we're on the phone together, we wrap up with a story, because that's important to him and it's important to me. Thanks for reminding me of that. Today has been a wonderful conversation. And as we wrap up, I want to thank you, Duarte, for being with us. You are a beacon of light, and together we are finding hope in the new normal. To our audience, if you want to know more about Duarte and his work, you can visit the Ohio Arts Council's website and find him on our teaching artist roster, or you can go to his website, and all that information is on your screen. For more information and more inspiration and stories from our Arts Beacon of Light, Finding Hope in the New Normal project, we welcome you to visit the Ohio Arts Council at oac.ohio.gov/Ohio Arts Beacon. You can also follow the OAC's Arts Beacon of Light on Instagram at Ohio Arts Beacon. We hope you will submit your stories and share the light in your world with all of us. Until next time, let's all find hope in the new normal. And remember, the arts in Ohio are better when we work together.